In my last video, the 350Z did not look like this. In this video, we're gonna do a lot more. We're gonna get the car running, the motor running, we're gonna get the car tuned, and we're gonna take it on a quick test drive, see how we do. Spoiler alert, things get very interesting. Temperature.
Oh shit.
First things first is we have to get 2 new exhaust manifold bolts, because the kit that it came with for the exhaust manifold bolts, I said manifolds. Yeah, one of them literally came like this. So I found some grade 10-9 bolts that should work. I'm not sure if it'll let you see. So we needed 2 of these, and see if we can put them onto the manifold. Lift one off here and one on the rear. In my opinion, probably the 2 easiest spots to replace them. So yeah, let's go get to it. Now that we got the bolts into the headers, I'm actually working and have been working on getting the dipstick to work. We've been having to move it around and make a couple bends to try and make it work. Doesn't look great, but we'll get it, I promise. The kit, obviously you plug one side off with the dipstick, but you don't have a spot for the other side, and it actually didn't even come with a thread. So I was able to find the thread pitch by that, ordered a 1/4 NPT plug for that, and some PTFE/nylon thread sealer, and we'll put that on, tying it down, and that way we won't have anything come out of that. We'll get that plugged in. Look at the oil filter, guys. This thing is massive, and it clears, so we're good. And we actually don't have too much left to do before we got to throw this guy back on, put it underneath, get the input shaft back on, and we're pretty much running home base right there. It's time to get the chassis support, front subframe support, back into the car. Do a little time lapse on that. Shouldn't take too long. We don't have a bunch of bolts, so it's just kind of heavy. Okay, so I've removed the harness, obviously. You can see there's rust right there. Kind of goes up here. This thing's chalky. We won't be using this ground cable, so I'll remove that. But I have to clean this up. There's no way I'm going to leave this rusty here, because if you guys have seen underneath my car, it's pretty much spot free. This is probably just the acid that ate through the paint. It's got through it pretty good. So I'm going to clean it all up with a wire wheel. Clean it up the dirt wise, and repaint it. And I'll probably end up painting this black, and everything else looks like it would be okay. And we'll route everything clean and make sure that it looks good, because this is going to bother me if I do all this work for the car and it just has a little bit of rust on it, and that ends up expanding into the well where our strut tower is. We can't have that, so I'm going to do that off camera. I don't want to bore you guys too much with a time lapse, but I'll be right back. Alright, you guys can see it is dark. Took me pretty much the rest of the day. Sanded it down, primed it, got the rust all out of there, and then tried to paint match it. I say try, I think I did a pretty good job at paint matching it. I blended it all the way up here, got all the way down there. As you can see, no more rust. I am going to be changing a harmonic balancer bolt that was OEM GMC to ARP. Obviously, we have everything upgraded here on the ATI super dampener and all that stuff, but we have an OEM bolt in there. Ew, yucky. So let me go ahead and explain this to you guys, how I'm planning to torque down to 140 foot-pounds on a motor that's not locked in place and can easily spin. So how do you torque that? Let me go ahead and draw it up for you. So we got a motor. That's the motor. Don't judge me. And we got a flywheel. And then on that flywheel, we've got a clutch and a pressure plate that connects to the input shaft, throw-up bearing, and so on. So So the harmonic balancer is going to spin when you put force on it because the motor, you know, the motor's free. So it's going to be able to spin, right? So how do we torque down something that's going to spin this and without rotating the motor, you know, because if it's spinning, you're not actually torquing it. So that's where the rest of the car comes to play. So obviously transmission, we can put this in reverse to start. It's just kind of, that's our little shifter. Put this in reverse, have this connect to the drive shaft to the rear wheels, and lock the rear wheels. So what does that do? Locking the rear wheels means this drive shaft can't turn. Putting this car in reverse means if we torque this positive, this would have to be able to go reverse. Let me try to see if I can spin that better. The transmission is in reverse, which means it needs to spin the drive shaft to the left. Well, I need to torque the harmonic balancer, which is to the right. So the transmission's already going to be fighting us like, hey, I can only spin to the left, but you're turning it to the right, giving us more force to stop the motor from spinning over. And hopefully that is enough to keep the harmonic balancer still so I can torque it. And if it isn't, we have another spot on the transmission that is our flywheel, and we have little teeth in there, kind of like that. Not sure if you guys can see that. Yeah, so we got little teeth in there, kind of like that. If we take a pry bar, or if anybody in my family is nice enough, hold a pry bar in there with a tool to stop it, preferably like pry bar or anything else, that'll be more leverage on all of this in order to get this torqued. I hope that was a good explanation. I'm not very good at explaining stuff. Pretty much car stop motor from moving, which means harmonic balancer bolt spin and torque. I hope that explains it. Just to show you guys that the motor does turn over if I try to do anything with the harmonic balancer bolt. Hold my leg. It turns, all right? It turns. There's no way you're gonna tighten anything, and that's definitely not anywhere near 100 something foot-pounds. So first thing we gotta do is put the drive shaft on, lock the rear wheels, put the transmission in reverse, and see if we can torque it. And that is a long process, so we're gonna have to get started now before it gets too dark. First things first, gotta get in the car. Not sure how well you'll be able to see all this. Let me see if I can get a light. You can see that's the adapter bracket for the transmission, and this kind of just sits on top like so, and we put some bolts in underneath, and it should allow for our shifter to squeeze in and do what it needs to do. So we are under the car. This is what your shifter ties into. See if we can move these to get the holes to align. I thought it did a pretty good job up top, but I guess I was wrong. So I got it at 12 right now, so we'll do 12 and see what we feel like. Okay. It's not the best angle, but it's what I have to work with right now because I have to actually get my hands in here and not worry about knocking over the camera. Alright, so I completely forgot to film, but that's okay. So I'll show you anyways what we did. There's a copper piece and a silver piece like this, straight under it. The spring goes in, the cup goes to the directions, tab right here. You see the little tab sticking out? Is your reverse lockout, so if you were to try to go in reverse from 6th gear, it's going to, let's see if I can get a light on that. It is going to hit this, and then that's why in the 350Z you got to push down to go under. So now that we kind of have it loosely fitted, I have to get underneath the car, put this bolt in, and we can test the transmission to see if it shifts in the gears and everything properly. If not, we'll have to change some stuff up because this is a short shifter. It's not the OEM shifter. I have no idea if this is going to work with this kit. It looks like it should, but we'll figure it out, won't we? All right, shifter is installed. It goes in all gears now. I had to do a bunch of stuff off camera, including shimming it just to get my short shifter to fit up. I guess it's literally just because that the ISR kit only works with the OEM, and a short throw shifter is longer, has a different set for the pin, for the lockout, reverse pin, so much stuff. So I did a little bit of fabrication and shimming, got it to work. But now that that's there, it's time to get the drive shaft on. We got the drive shaft. If you guys can see, I painted a white line all the way down it. Let me know in the comments if you know what that's for, because if you get it right, I'll pin you. All right, and just like that, we got these torqued down with some red thread lock, and drive shaft is in. Alrighty, so it's another day. If you weren't aware, we just got the ARP bolt torqued into the balancer. Did that on the camera last night. Very scary, but we got it. We literally are just finishing up everything, and what I did is I relocated the battery to the back. Well, I'm going to be, aka while all that stuff's in there. And we're gonna be running the fuel system through here too. Probably drill a little holes through the firewall that hide right next to the heater hoses, get everything ran. Still gotta do a check valve for the brake booster for the LS because it's a big boy cam. You know, we got little things to do. I'm already working with the tuner to get the first start going. I literally just have to put this under the car and connector, and yeah, once we get the battery and the fuel system going, we'll be ready, because the fuel pump's already done, and I've got a return on here. Kind of just modified the stock fuel pump with a 340 liter per hour pump on there. This is pretty much ready to go back in as well. I just haven't done it yet, and I might just do it last because fuel is just like annoying with all the AN lines and everything. So I'm gonna run over here and put this whole bracket together. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. This is all just aluminum, and this is going to be the tray that holds it into the trunk. And if you guys don't know, the passenger rear part of the trunk is going to be your lightest part of the car, because more likely you're not going to be driving with anybody. If you are, then it's not a big deal, because the driver's on the driver's side, passenger, there's usually nothing there. Match it out even, and we'll put the battery in the passenger rear part of that trunk. And yeah, so let me go ahead and build this stuff up, and I'll get back with you guys. All right, so we kind of have a plan, and I have to kind of go through it with you guys. So the battery relocate is so that we can run the fuel regulator right here, but the relocate thing that they gave me is so freaking massive. It's like impossible to get this to fit anywhere nicely and still have room to run the rest of my lines. So I was thinking, it came with a positive and a negative. Remember what it looked like? It had a red terminal here and a black terminal here. I'm thinking we run it like a Chevy. I say me and my dad kind of pondered on this for a little bit, because we have grounds right here from the factory battery relocation kit, and I'm gonna make that and clean that up bigger. So if you don't know, the Camaros only have one positive stud, and it's usually by the motor or somewhere near the battery, because the Camaros run the battery in the trunk from factory. So what I'm going to do, this is very harshly painted. I try to draw them straight, but I'll carefully do it, is I'm going to melt down this plastic with a melting pin, soldering pin, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to run the red positive in the middle, cut these pieces off right here, still have that little bit of engagement right here, and not have long tabs. And the original stud holes are going to be for mounting it up right there. So hopefully that works. Regulator will be right there, that'll be right there. Run the wires through the car. We've already kind of figured out how we're going to be doing this. I'm just going to end up losing the spare. I mean, the spares won't fit with the Brimbos anyways. A lot of stuff that feels really wrong to do, but at the same time, it's a race car, so gotta get started. I'm gonna do it all off camera. I don't want to bore you guys with the stuff that we got to do with it, so I'll just do it and then show you how I went about it, and it mounted up. That's a lot of sun. So yeah, see you guys in a sec. Alrighty guys, it's dark. These things tend to take longer than you'd think they would, but I'll show you guys my setup in a second. I want to show you real quick before I actually explain it. These bolts on the harmonic balancer are very high grade steel. I think they're actually ARP, just not branded. And I used the leftover studs I had, and I made this. So pretty much like a Camaro would have, just a voltage, and we always have our ground right there. Got a ground cable on it, but we're not going to keep that, but there will be a ground there. I'll probably make it a stud. And yeah, I wanted this to look clean, so I kind of set it up where the studs come through here because it all gets covered up anyways. But yeah, that's what it was. Got everything there, it's all tight. Ended up taking a flapper disc and expanding that back plate so that that little piece can go in, and use the original holes for studs. It's not perfect, but it definitely doesn't look bad. But yeah, Loctited everything except for the 2 nuts on this side, closest side, because if I ever need to take that off, I could take that off easily. But it's flush, looks good. You wouldn't be able to really notice because once the heater hoses are in, they kind of go over there anyways and cover it up. But that's that. And it took me all day to do that. Fabrication, boys, when you don't have the right tools. So yeah, I might do something else tonight. Really just depends. If I don't, obviously you guys will see it. It'll be daytime, but yeah. See you guys soon. Alright guys, it's another day. I'm with my boy Landon. Say what's up. If you guys remember last time, I just mounted the fuel regulator, made a little bracket, and we got the positive post. Actually, I kind of designed this off your Camaro.
Did you?
Yeah. So I kind of copied the post here. I'm gonna run the ground probably underneath. If not, I'll find another way to route a ground. Positive has been soldered and heat shrinked. I had someone on Instagram message me, dude, you forgot the heat shrink. I put the heat shrink all the way down there because the torch, I didn't want this to heat up and then not be able to move it. But that goes through the car, underneath the carpet, through here, routes inside the plastic, goes through the body, and comes out here where there is a grounded off back there, and in here, and inside here is the battery. That's where the battery sits. And thank you, Landon. We got a vent, negative and positive. And like I told Landon, I figured I'd put the battery in the back right because you're sitting up here, battery's right here. It kind of sort of evens it out, I'd hope. I'm not sure if it'll make a big difference. But yeah, that's how we routed it. Landon and me, what, we take like 3 hours.
Mostly trying to get the evap canister off because that thing was ancient.
Yeah, that was not fun. But now that that's routed, I'll kind of fix everything on my own time off camera, make everything run cleaner, and show you guys what I'm doing about the battery and the carpet in the back. It's kind of a cool idea. I hope it works out, but I'll update you guys then. See you guys soon. So last clip that we left off on, we just installed the battery tray, and I did a lot of stuff off camera, and I feel like now is a good point to kind of update you guys on what I did. I'm kind of holding something right now. If you guys can see this, it looks like a pin, because it is, and it goes to a fuel pump, and that goes to a ground. If you guys know anything about wiring, this is a higher gauge wire for my higher output fuel pump, and I'm just pretty much making a ground that goes into the factory connector. That way it can handle the higher gauge wire I'm going to use for the positive. I'm actually setting up a relay and fuse setup. Pretty much all that does is, this is factory harness, right? This runs all the way to the computer, and the computer activates power. This has no safety on it. If something wants to burn up, it will burn up, and adding a relay and a fuse setup pretty much just makes it so that if something gets too hot, something's drawing too much amperage or too much voltage, it'll pop the fuse, it'll pop the relay before it ever burns up anything in your system. Obviously, fuel is very, very risky when it comes to burning stuff up, including inside of the housing and in the fuel, pretty much preventing a fire. So I'm setting up a relay. I'm going to use the factory voltage as a relay, pretty much as a trigger wire. And when I say trigger wire is, when the car tells the factory pump harness, which is this piece right here, to turn on, it's going to turn on my relay setup. I don't have to do anything. pretty much runs better, higher gauge wire, and I'll show you guys that more when it's finished. Just a really big safety thing. You can see how I told you guys a while ago that I routed the positive line. And if we go and get a flashlight, I have already pretty much done a lot of stuff when it comes to mounting up the battery. You can see that I have my ground put over there. Positive obviously goes to the front through a 20 gauge wire that I have set up on a 300 amp fuse. It's not plugged up right now, but everything is set up so that it is ready to be used if need be. And that's that with the tray. And I've just been pretty much setting up a bunch of safety features and extra grounds and all that stuff so that I can get this car safely operating and not just thrown together. And we are actually getting really close. Once I drop the fuel pump in after I'm done doing the relay setup, all we got to do is pretty much prime the motor, and she's good to start. So we'll get that done. Don't know if it'll be in this video. Probably will be. I'll probably do 2 separate videos. But yeah, we're getting close, and it is about time to start the 408 stroker and the Nissan 350Z chassis. I'm nervous. If I had to be honest, I'm really nervous, but I'll be back when I finish the wiring, kind of update you guys how I was talking about the relay setup. This is a bit of an update of where we're at. Get the fuel line running through the firewall. If you guys don't remember, I'm trying to make sure everything is clean. Do you guys see starter wire anywhere? You don't, because it is wired straight down underneath all the headers with a heat shield and clean out of the way. It'll, once I'm finished in the morning, because it's late, I have to be careful. I'll put a grommet on that. The grommet's right there. Hook up positive. Got the fuel pump and everything done. Temporarily set up right now. Everything in place. You can kind of see the bigger gauge wires I put on there. Connected to the relay. Inline fuse back there. Try to clean it up with some zip ties. It's temporarily just set up like that. Whenever we can confirm that the car is running properly and everything, I will take it apart and clean it up again more permanently. Keep it away from anything sharp that could cause vibrations or anything to cut through. You guys may see that I have the valve cover off. Well, I've had it off, and I don't have any of the brackets on. We set up the top dead center timing pointer and get that on there. Get the spark plugs in it temporarily. Gonna prime the motor tomorrow, finish the starter wire, lay down the harness, put transmission fluid in, and the car is pretty much ready to start. We are pretty much just waiting on the tuner to send me the startup file, and we can go from there. Alrighty guys, we have exactly 42 hours until me and the tuner get on a live call and get this thing started. But we've got a list of stuff that we got to do, and I didn't really plan for it to be ready to start this quick, but you know, things happen. We got to bleed the clutch, get the clutch working. I want to see if it'll engage in gear, obviously. Harness, duh. I have to change the pinout on the harness for the starter signal wire, because for some reason this bigger aftermarket starter is using a pin instead of like an actual plug. Heated oxygen sensors, I have to figure out if I can put like a longer tube on the headers or etc, just to get a better AFR. Prime the oil, obviously, and spark plugs. That's pretty much it as far as actually physically working on the car. In order to get it started, I have been trickling on the battery just to make sure she stays charged, because we don't have the alternator hooked up right now, so that could be an issue. But obviously we're not going to be running coolant or anything. We're going to be running just oil, so hopefully that the car won't be running too long and it won't need the alternator. If we do need a little bit of battery, we can plug that back in, or we can put the jump box on it, and I have a bigger jump box as well. But yeah, I gotta do a couple things. Probably gonna do a little bit of time lapse and keep you guys updated. The car smelled like fuel, and I think it's because I removed the charcoal canister that you guys saw me and Landon were messing with, and the car smells like fuel, right? So I'm probably gonna make a custom charcoal canister and I mean like ghetto charcoal canister. So let me know if you guys are interested in that, and I'll show you guys how I do it. All right, so last night I did you're gonna see the wire harness, obviously. Wire harness is here. I actually just now laid this out. There's a lot, but I got the spark plugs torqued back up. I got this side back on. The only reason why I haven't gotten this side back on, see, that's kind of, it's because we're gonna be priming the motor, pressurizing it through the oil hole, and I'll show you guys the process of how I do that. But we need to make sure the oil comes out of the push rods. If it comes out of the right side, then we're good. On the left side, means that there's oil. And yeah, so I gotta lay out the harness and do a bunch of stuff with the harness, but I figured I was gonna let you guys see the harness before I just throw it on and be like, oh, here's the harness, guys. So harness is here. It's got all the things I need to be running, plus some. It's got flex fuel. It's got a bunch of extra stuff that I'm not gonna put on just yet. I'm gonna zip tie it away. Using the Link Extreme Haltech wideband controller and the Wiring Specialties controller to keep all the factory inside of the 350Z. The OEM, don't have to change out gauges and have random mismatched gauges. To me, I don't really like that look. If it works for you, then dope, do it. I like the OEM Plus look, and that's the way I'm gonna do it. Costs more money, but it is what it is. And I'm gonna wire this up now. I feel like if I did time-lapse would still be 20 minutes because I want to do this kind of like plan it out for how I'm gonna actually keep it on. But I'll do this off camera and I'll get back to you guys in a second. All right, guys, we got most of the harness on. It looks really janky. I'll kind of go through it a little bit. Obviously this is not how I'm keeping it. It doesn't look too bad back there, but we got the heater lines to run, and I have the valve cover off still because I told you guys earlier I was going to prime the system and put oil in it. And right here we have the intake air temperature sensor. Still got the cardboard piece on it because I'm gonna take it off whenever it's time to actually use it, so it doesn't get dirty. And zip tied some stuff out of the way, the wires and all that stuff that's not gonna be used, and tucked everything under there. We have the new slave cylinder that I'll be hooking up under the car, bleeding the clutch and getting the clutch working because I want to see if the clutch will engage tomorrow. And just doing a couple stuff like putting the wideband sensors on, starter related stuff, and I don't think there's that much left to do. So it's time to start this thing, and I'm excited and really nervous. So hopefully it goes good. See you guys in a bit. See, right there is pretty good. All right, let me show you guys what I've come up with / saw on the internet on how we're priming our motor full of oil. Get yourself a little weed killer pump. Get yourself a barb and a hose clamp. It's that gold and chrome piece you see on there. Hose clamp, just kind of make sure if it's under pressure it doesn't come off. And then grab yourself a barb replacement that goes into your oiling block. If I can get you guys to see that, it's right there. It'll screw in like normal, yada yada. And pretty much you just I don't know if you heard the air coming out of it, but it does that with oil, and it puts oil in your motor and primes it. So I'm gonna be doing that, and I will update you guys when there's oil coming out of the push rods. Currently waiting on the tuner, working on getting the car started. Figured out the oil pressure issue. Lines were backwards. I'll get into that a little bit later. Waiting for the tuner to jump on and flash us the file and see if we get her started. What happened?
Nothing.
Why y'all laughing? This is what I gotta deal with. Ready?
Yep.
Anything?
We had a weak spark, but I didn't get shit from this gun.
Ready? Alrighty, so there's gonna be a little bit of wind in this clip because it's very windy today. We had a lot of progress done to this car. A lot of it's just kind of quick snippet footage. I don't exactly have the best professional area to record, so a lot of it's not usable because it's pitch dark, you know, etc. Doing my best, thinking that this car's misfiring and everything, and I totally forgot that we are on open headers. We don't have any extension of the exhaust, so there's no actual quality flow of the exhaust, which is messing up AFR. Wideband sensors are going crazy, making us think this motor is running super lean, which is making the tuner think that it's misfiring, even though it wasn't misfiring. The tuner doesn't hear the car or see it because they're in Australia. So we went through all this diag process, including using Corvette coils and switching it on, making it look ugly. So I'm going to put everything back on. I actually did just buy a ICT billet alternator adapter because I try to get the alternator to fit down there and it hits the frame rail. The OEM LS1 alternate power steering pump fits, so we're going to use that there. But we'll throw the alternator bracket on right here. I think it sits about right there. Be perfect. And get the belt on. Gonna use that belt. If I can't, I'll find a belt that'll fit. But we need water. We need the water pump moving. We need the motor to stay cool so we can actually tune in minimal effects of this AFR and get it running right and getting it to stay going during idle. Alright, so we've got the car set up with the accessory drive bracket. Obviously you can tell that the throttle body's missing. This is why the throttle body's missing. It doesn't line up. So ICT Billet sent me a adapter plate that kind of tilts the throttle body. It looks really goofy, but we gotta get it hooked up because I have to test to make sure AFR is running right in this car, and it's getting dark. So I'm gonna let you guys look. That's kind of how it looks right now, and then we'll fix it and be right back. We've been running into a bunch of issues. Let me kind of just update you. So the adapter plate that I bought, that's supposed to, I know it looks really funny, tilt the throttle body, has another spot to tilt it up higher because this is way too close. Even that little bit of range fills in with the belt. The belt fills that in pretty quick. So I need to have this throttle body tilted like this. It looks stupid. Eventually I will get a better intake, but I've already spent the money and I want my car running. Drag strip's already going, so you know I already have to be out there. But I want it tilted just a little bit more, right? The issue is that the nipple part that hangs down hits the top of my OEM, because I've messaged ICT Billet. I'm like, hey, your adapter plate hits the water pump. Well, you must not have an OEM water pump. Well, the GM casting on this water pump says otherwise. It might not be the OEM water pump that you want for the thing, but you didn't specify that. Other than that, ICT Billet has been very good to me, and they've been very quality with their parts. This is the only one that I've really had trouble with. That is so goofy, but it works. Alright, so we got the front core support on, and it is dirty. Very clear. Rerouted some of the lines for my wiring specialty harness because the alternator wasn't connecting. I hope you guys could see that. Yeah, that wasn't connecting. They had it wired for a alternator that goes over here. I'm not putting my alternator over there. Just didn't feel like it. Honestly, I don't mind this setup. It looks nice. When I get a bigger intake down the road, it'll be over the alternator and it'll look proper. Moving on, we have the accessory on, we have the water pump, etc., and it is about time to go ahead and hook everything up. We are really close, so I'm hoping this works out. People say it does, and hopefully we aren't going to have to build our own custom bash bar, because that would suck right now. Radiator sits way too close and the belt doesn't fit. I'm not sure if I've shown you guys yet, but I have on my Instagram, so if you haven't already, go follow the Instagram, because the Instagram is where all you get the little details and everything of the videos. So now I'm going to fabricate my own kind of support, and we won't have a bumper on for a little bit, but that's okay. I found some old triangles for a swing set. They're metal. My plan is to kind of have these sit in here. I'll trim them down. Have them sit right here, or however I need to have them sit, and build some bars to hold the radiator and kind of tilt the radiator forward, give us enough room to start running the plumbing. It's gonna look really cheesy and it's gonna look gross until I sand it down and paint it, but looking for something that kind of just bolts on instead of having to fully weld it in, and just kind of make it look nicer in my opinion. And that's what I'm looking for. So make it so that it's boltable onto there. And these are the only past welds I've actually done. These are just booger welds that I'll sand down and redo. But I just decided to tack everything up. It's pretty much how that'll sit. These lines are where the radiator studs go. And what I'll do is get it to line up pretty much where the factory location was and go from there. Alright guys, so I got my buddy Quinn here today.
How's it going?
He's been around for a while. I haven't really shown him on any videos, but he's gonna help me with welding this. He's got more experience than I do. He's been to school and everything. We are still welding with flux, so it's still not gonna be greatly pretty, but it'll do. I'd rather him do it because I don't have quality at all, and he's got more experience. Like normal, it's raining again. What do they say? May flowers bring April showers, something like that. It's April. It's raining like crazy. This is the finished product. It's not pretty, but it works. Gives me enough room for my intake, etc. Hoses will line up. I still have not made a ground strapping for the bottom so that it doesn't do this. But it's not going to break. And we'll just put the strapping on the bottom, use the studs that it has from factory, we'll work from there. Alrighty, so it's later in the day. You guys just got to see my time lapse. I think it was like 4 minutes. It took me about an hour. So time lapses are cool. We did a 90 on the steam port up here, routed it a little cleaner away from the belt. The zip ties are gonna stay. I don't think it's gonna be necessarily a big interference because I'm gonna have the plastic on this. It's gonna look like that. It's gonna have the intake. I got the new water pump on, obviously, everything torqued to spec. Shimmed out the tensioner. Also, now that I think about it, I have to loop these. And yeah, so we got everything hooked up. I need to put the overflow reservoir on and loop these real quick, and we'll go ahead and pressurize the system and make sure it doesn't have a major leak like it did last time. It dropped from like 25 to 30 cubic inches of vacuum to 0 in like 15 seconds. Big leak. We knew why once we saw the water pouring out of the water pump. But yeah, if we have vacuum, I'm thinking I'm just gonna go ahead and just fill it up with coolant, and we'll go from there. All right, seems like we got a winner. Turn this on. Press USB, type that right there, press the USB thing. Okay, we should be. Main one, fuel pressure, oil pressure, temperature. AFR, so all that stuff we can worry about later. All right.
battery's at 13.8.
Okay, so we keep losing motor on clutch.
Shot the damn tires off. Didn't mean to do that. Definitely likes the higher gears. I got no power steering. That's great. Don't got power steering. Temperature.
Oh shit. Yep.
What are we at?
230. How'd you climb that quick?
This is not the place to be right now.
That's okay. Just turn it back on and just get in the gas station.
Ah, I knew we should have gone this far. Alright, so we made it to the gas station, except we didn't make it to the pump. I chose not to because it was overheating. Tensioner, I don't know what's going on, but for some reason we slung the belt off almost immediately. So suck. Ow. Ow, it's hot. Okay, here we go.
Alright, you gotta pull it back this way here
On what, the pump?
on the tensioner. Do what you can over there.
You don't straighten out, but
Yeah.
ow, ow. Damn it, ow. So what's left? Obviously we have to fix the belt tensioner issue. Working with ICT Billet on a fix for that right now. May end up just fixing it by myself. Not that they don't want to help me, but for some reason the setup isn't working with my F-body accessory drives. And I'm not getting an exact, hey, let's do this to fix it. But it's okay, we'll fix it. We fixed the fuel regulator. The motor is making 120 psi at 6,000 RPMs. That is not good. 120 psi at 6,000 RPMs, the car's gonna be revving out to 8. There's no telling how much more psi I would make. And I'm not really trying to blow out the oil filter or any seals, and I think that's why my oil pan's leaking, so we're gonna have to seal up the oil pan too after we do the oil pump. So once we get the new oil pump in, the oil pan sealed, and retuned the startup tune, etc., the idle tune for the correct fuel pressure on the gauge, I'll start hiding all the wires and tuck some stuff easier. I gotta get the intake air temperature sensor actually on the intake, you know, simple stuff. And we'll start street tuning this in the next video. So if you watched all the way through, I appreciate you. Next videos are going to be very interesting because we're going to be hitting the street. This should be fun. See you guys soon.